Lately, I've been realizing that when life gets busy, the answer usually isn't trying to do more, it's creating better systems. So, I wanted to show how I'm currently planning my weeks, organizing projects, and transitioning into my new A5 Complete setup while balancing multiple responsibilities, content creation, work, and a lot of ongoing life projects at the same time. And honestly, one thing I've learned recently is that I don't plan well when I try to micromanage every hour of my life. That usually just creates pressure. So instead, I focus much more on priorities, focus categories, time blocks, weekly direction, and creating systems that actually support the life I'm trying to build. So, this is the planner I've been using recently for my day to day planning and weekly structure. So, this is the Hobonichi Avec A5 for 2026. Now, I love the Avec. I've been using the A5 for quite some time. And I've tried B6. I tend to go back to A5. And what I love here is I can focus much more on the bigger picture planning, bigger pages, bigger daily pages. And what I usually do when the month starts is I'll go through the monthly events and indicate what my focuses are. So, work commitments, special events, birthdays, and then I'll move into the weekly pages. I like having the big visual though of the month because it helps me see my capacity and a little more realistically instead of overcommitting myself. Then, after the monthly pages, what the Hobonichi does not have that the Sterling Ink A5 Complete has is a blank spread after the month. So, I have the academic, I'll be moving into it in the next few weeks. But what I really like is that this blank page spread right after the monthly, this is where I do my big overview. So I can plan months ahead because every month has this blank 2 page spread in it. So, of course, I can put special events into the calendar pages, but at the same time, I can also go in something that may not have been scheduled yet and put it in the blank pages. And in this area, I will put ideas, things I want to focus on, possible projects, studio updates. Now, it does exist in a way in the Hobonichi with a blank page starting the month. So I've been using this page for that purpose. Having the 2 page spread allows me to divide up based on goals as well. So it gives me more room to brainstorm. And again, future content, business goals, or really things I want to revisit later, but almost like a planning dashboard or a project overview space. And this has helped me stop carrying things mentally all the time because now I can go months ahead. And that's why I went to the academic. I'll be shifting out of the part one, the A5 Avec, January to June, and then moving in here from July onward to next June. And this gives me 14 months ahead to plan. Now, in the weekly pages, and I'll go to the Sterling Ink weekly pages here. I'll go through this shortly, but what I wanted to show is how I work through the weekly. So I don't try to perfectly schedule every minute. Instead, I use broader time blocks and I will color code in here. And I'll write things like recording, publishing, clients, work, fitness, admin, planning, deep work, events, and so on. And I'll color code them so that I know where I'm putting my effort and where I'm putting my time so that the priorities stay as priorities and I'm not over scheduling or over committing. And this keeps the week feeling flexible instead of restrictive. And usually, what I will do at the top is I'll put a bar and block off time. So I'll start my day about 8:30, but I'll block off at 8 o'clock. And now I have a section above where I can put my top 3 priorities. And this is where I know when I'm planning my week ahead, I can look at what my priorities are for the week. So I'll put for that day. So I may have an event, I'll already block that off, but I can put it up top. So even ahead of time, I can plan priorities before they even arise. Now, what I really like here as well is the the daily pages. They're quite blank here. I've already put a bit in. So this book actually starts in June, and I'll flip back here to just show you where we start. If you're new to the A5 Complete, you've got And with the academic, of course, we've got the current year and then the year ahead. And it's a nice clean spread. I like the minimalist spread. I find the text has gotten a little darker, so it's bold enough to read, but not so bold that it inhibits creative work. This 2-page spread right at the start may be a vision board. I'm not going to be putting a lot into this book. As you can see, it's quite thick. I don't want it getting too thick so that I'm not able to use it 10 months down the line. So this is not my memory keeper. This is really my powerhouse organizer. But I may do a vision board on this 2-page spread here. They've got a nice goal breakdown. I actually changed the headings on these, so I'll show that in a future video as I really get into this. But here, the way they've broken it down is there's someday goals, 1 year, half year, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. And then, of course, you've got 6 categories on the side. So this may be work, one might be finance, one might be health and wellness, the other could be personal relationship or friends and family relationships. One may be education and growth, maybe courses you'd like to learn, or it could be a study that you're doing, maybe the language you're learning, and the other could be home and lifestyle. So however you like to break this down, I'll talk about my health pillars and lifestyle pillars in a future video, but this is another way that you can break this page down for yourselves. This is a really nice tracker. So there's actually 5 squares in width. So some will break it down and track different events, different activities. It could be exercise, movements, steps, etc. I don't use this page too much myself, but I may find a use for it. Now the quarterlies, this is where I do my quarterly planning. So in the top, I'll put my looking forward. And then when I get into the months, I'll be able to break this down more. The page on the right will actually be my content media tracker. That's where I'll be writing in numbers, growth, video counts, maybe some goals and ideas along that on the side. But again, this isn't a lot of room, so I'll be using it into the daily pages. So you've got your 4 quarterlies. Again, the academic will start Q3, so it starts July, 4th quarter, and then we're into the first half of 2027 with quarter 1 and quarter 2. Now, this is where I've started filling in a little. For next month, I'll actually start filling this in. So we have a June monthly spread. Because there's a couple of days that are the last 2 days of June start into July. So this is why that was added in. But what I'm going to do here is, again, for June, I'll be putting in my June radar. So I will still use this for next month already. And what you'll see is that there are duplicates of weeks at the front and at the back of every month. I am not a fan of the duplicates. So what I'll be doing is I've actually just taken some whiteout, and then I'll be putting ideas and events here. Because I'm not officially in this book in June, I can just use this as a mind map and a forward planning. Because there's the 2 daily pages, and this is where I show the breakdown of my dailies. So what I really like about the dailies here is at the start of the day, I write down some gratitudes, and that usually just really helps with a mental reset before everything gets really busy. And then throughout the day, I'll jot down notes, ideas, wins, things that happened, important conversations, really progress overall. And anything I want to remember will stay at the bottom. Now on the left timeline, it allows me to expand from the weeks because the weekly vertical is fairly narrow, so it's almost double a column of space. Now, I did an imaginary line similar to what the Hobonichi does, but this can be moved over or not put in at all. So the daily pages really become less about rigid productivity and more about documenting momentum, clarity, progress, and really what's moving forward in my life. And honestly, I love that because later I can look back and actually see what actions I took, what improved, what shifted, what worked, and what I was building during that season of life. Now, again, there's something that the Hobonichi does not have, but I love that at the end of the week, there is a blank 2-page spread. And in this case, it's some months it'll be 1 page, some it'll be 2. So for example, there's some weeks where, in this case, there's going to be 1 blank page, but there may be some where there's 2 blank pages at the end of the week, just depending on what day of the week starts. But either way, all we really need is one page here because I usually just use the blank page for a weekly review. And that's one thing I really miss in the Hobonichi because I do like to look back on my week. And here I'll write down the 3 big wins. They could be big or small. What worked, what needs improvement, and really a bit of a brain dump, brain clear, and next week's focus. So, however you want to lay this out for yourself, sometimes when there's 2 pages, I can write more. I can write what felt heavy, what moved forward, what I need to simplify, what needs more attention, and what I want to improve going into the next week. So, that part is probably, this has become one of the most valuable pieces for me and one of the main reasons I switched to the complete because it helps me notice patterns instead of just reacting constantly. And now I'm slowly transitioning into this A5 from my Hobonichi Avec cousin, and which I'm really excited about because it gives me more flexibility with the weekly planning, project tracking, creative ideas, the monthly direction, and the bigger picture life organization. So while I'm still finishing my current planner, I've already started planning here. And I honestly think that the bigger lesson I'm learning lately is that being able to transition into the A5 complete, it now feels smoother and more intentional versus chaotic, at least for me. It's about creating enough clarity, structure, and intentionality that life starts feeling lighter again, especially during the busy seasons. So, honestly, even redesigning my office recently has reinforced that in me because environment affects focus, clarity, creativity, and motivation. And in this book, I can now expand and plan and really allow that mental clarity to come through. So, right now, I am building systems, environments, and routines that support the kind of life I want to live moving forward. These are not perfect, not aesthetic perfection by any means, but at the same time, they're genuine and they make me feel calmer, clearer, and more intentional. So, basically, how I'm planning lately and how I'm organizing this season right now. Nothing overly complicated, nothing hyper productive. Just trying to build a life that actually works a little better week by week.